Alrighty guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing something completely different to the videos you have seen previously. We just uploaded our video on my overall install of the clutch, the intercooler, and the door sills that I got from Adam. So huge shout out again to Hondata Vinyl with their amazing products. But today it just came upon me. I wanted to do something real cool that I've been wanting to get into for a while. And I didn't think maybe some people would appreciate the content of the video. So I've been researching on the market for quite some time now on what turbocharger upgrade I was looking for onto my car. I know that there's already a couple of different companies that have mentioned that they already have their product, but you know, I don't want to know how much power it makes. I don't want to know. I want to know what it took for you to create this and what were the steps and how you got to this. And I've been following, I'm sure plenty of you guys have been following as well, 271's blogs that they've been posting every couple of weeks regarding their upgrade turbocharger that Nick Sombrero, or also Sick as you may know him, the second fastest Civic in the world, the first Civic to hit 11 seconds, has been running. I'm completely astonished with their R&D team, with the engineering team, with everything that they've done as far as the product on this car. So in this video, I'm going to be capping what I think about the system and what I read, and maybe some of you might not be able to understand how the system works. So I kind of want to explain to you with some pictures what we're doing here. So what I'm going to do is I'll post a picture and I will explain what we're seeing in the picture and some notes that I've gathered from their blog. So you guys can pretty much understand what's going on. I'm sure we have a ton of race heads, ton of gas heads in this channel, but there's some of us that have been following Honda for a long time, and we aren't too sure what's going on with the new turbocharger system. We know about boost, we know about, but we don't really understand how the system actually works. So that's what I want to do today. I want to educate everybody, and again, thanks to this vlog, I was able to learn a lot about their product. I used to work at a shop myself, putting together turbos, sandblasting, installing turbos, downpipes. I mean, you name it, I've done it all there here in California. So now we're going to go on to the vlog part of this video. Now, as you can see in this picture, this was brought up from one of their first vlogs. You can appreciate the turbocharger assembly here on this view or format. You can see the inlet side and the exhaust side. So you get to appreciate both. Right in the middle, you can see the C-clamp that'll hold everything down on the CHRA. And then you can also see the coolant lines and oil passages and so on and so forth. The black part that you see at the top left corner of the turbo is actually the wastegate. The wastegate in our cars, or the 10th gen Civic SIs and CRVs and any turbocharged engine that Honda has made is actually electronic, which is a little different to your typical, 1995 EK, B series or K series boosted. They all had external wastegates. This is an electronic wastegate, so the setup is completely different, and the computer can determine how much boost you make. So essentially, what the wastegate does is that it closes this little door inside of the exhaust chamber on this side of the turbo, hot side of the turbo, and when that is closed, it'll start to build boost. So when that's closed, there's more pressure being built within the turbocharger. When it opens, or simply when you put the clutch in, it will open the door. Opening the door will release the air and lower your boost levels. So it is critical that the wastegate is operating properly. That way you don't have unsafe boost levels, that way you don't have underboost conditions, but you will start to see troubles later on in the future with these wastegates. Anything that's electronic eventually will come to a failure. So this is one of the cool things that Honda has, is that you'll be able to know electronically if your wastegate has gone bad. Now, for those of you that don't know how a turbocharger actually works, on the right side of this picture, that is the hot side of the turbo. On the left side of this picture, there you have the cold side of the turbo, as some people may refer to it, or the inlet outlet, inducer, exducer. There's plenty of different ways that it can be pronounced or said. So what the turbocharger does essentially is it is driven by exhaust gases coming from the head of the engine. So it comes through the turbo. The turbo then spools up the air and sends it through the intercooler, which is pretty much, if you think of it like a radiator that cools down the water, this cools down the air that comes through it. It comes out of the intercooler and feeds it right back into the throttle plate. The throttle plate gets into the combustion chamber, so therefore you are forcing more air into the engine. So you're recycling that hot air instead of letting it out your exhaust like a naturally aspirated car would do. So now with this explanation, you could pretty much understand a lot more about this picture. This next picture that I have to show you, you will see the, again, inlet and outlet of the turbo, or inducer and exducer on the turbo. This is what the turbocharger looks without the housing around it. This is essentially right before the CHRA. This is what you will have. So to the left here you have the inlet side, and to the right you have the exhaust side. So again, this is what goes into the CHRA, which again is the center housing rotating assembly. This is what spools up and makes that nice sound that we all love. So this is, now moving on to the next picture that we have here on screen. Again, this is our CHRA, that is the center housing rotating assembly. This is where the previous picture were bolt into. You will have the inducer and exducer, one on one side and one on the other. And the turbo housing will go around this here. Now looking at this picture or the previous one, you can definitely notice that the intake side of the turbo, or the inlet inducer, is a lot bigger than the exducer. Now the wheel diameter ratio definitely does have a lot to do with boost control. Amongst with boost control, you'll also have power capacity and bearing wear. So according to 27.1 or 271, it is important to consider your wheel diameter ratio when you're designing a performance turbocharger. So for example, a high value ratio or a larger compressor wheel can cause adverse effects on the turbocharger's overall performance and reliability, such as bearing failure, such as you can have the shaft break. You can have a lot of problems when you go too big on one side and too small on the other. We would all like to be as close as 1.25 to 1 on wheel diameter ratio when building a performance turbo. That would make everything perfect, balanced out, and even. The factory turbo is 1.24 to 1, and 271's turbo is 1.23 to 1. Same thing with the downpipe. You restrict it with the cat. When you take the cat off, it's unrestricted, and now the turbo can breathe. So here's a picture of their front pipe that 271 has designed. Now this front pipe is actually manufactured from 304 stainless steel 2.5 piping. This Civic X front pipe will actually last for years to come, and also will support your power goals towards up to 450 horsepower if any of us ever make it up there on the stock motor. So of course in this picture you can definitely appreciate one, the quality welds, two, how big the pipes is versus the stock pipes, and of course the quality material you see there on the bottom flange, where I believe that one actually meets up to the factory downpipe or upgraded downpipe, whichever you're running on your car. That's where it would actually meet. So getting a little bit into more depth of the actual turbocharger housing and assembly, one thing that 271 has claimed on their product is that it will be an OEM drop-in turbo. Therefore, that means you won't have to modify anything, and everything you have on your car will bolt right up to it. Now, many people have been asking, will my intake work with this? Will my exhaust work with this? You know, I spent all this money on this piping. I know a lot of people have been saying that, 271's new cold air intake won't work very well with the PRL intercooler piping. However, we have seen no one that could test this and you know, purchase the cold air intake and say, hey, I agree, it doesn't fit, or it does fit, or whatever the case is. So as of right now, it's the only thing that remains a mystery. We don't know, but we should be seeing here in the future if someone can fit their 271 cold air intake with the PRL intercooler and intercooler piping. 271's turbo, as you can see in this picture, is actually built from an OEM turbo. So getting a little bit into the designing of the turbo, I'm not the engineer that was there, nor I am an employee for 271, but from some intel that I've gathered from their blog, what I can see is that they've pretty much took the OEM Honda turbocharger and extracted everything out of it that they could, and literally re-engineered everything to fit their new CHRA, to put the upgraded billet wheel, to make everything bigger, and you know, essentially have a better performance and a higher performance turbocharger. As you can see on the face of the inlet side of the turbo, there you have the bolts where your intake inlet pipe would meet up to, and then also your wastegate on the other side. So everything is there perfect, and again, that is because it is an OEM turbocharger that has been heavily upgraded in order to be as reliable and as powerful as this turbocharger has become to be. Every single W-1 turbo, which is the name of the turbo that 271 is creating, is 100% brand new. It's not a used one that they took and rebuilt. It's not a core. You don't wait for it. You don't send yours, and it's literally, you purchase it, it's a brand new turbo, and it's on your car. There's no downtime in between the procedure of purchase and arrival, except for shipping, of course. With the turbo being bigger, essentially, so it has a bigger shaft, bigger inducer and exducer. There's also bigger bearings that are involved as part of that shaft. These bearings need proper lubrication. Therefore, the new turbochargers will also come with upgraded oil and upgraded coolant lines. So it's literally a plug and play kit. The only thing that you will have to remove from your turbo and put onto this one is the wastegate actuator. There's only 4 bolts that holds it on. It's extremely simple to relocate, and shouldn't be a problem at all for anybody installing this product. Now, when you think of bigger, you think of more trouble. But in this case, as you can see in this picture, you can definitely see you have no trouble fitting this turbocharger on your car. Here it is bolted up to the factory L15 B7, which is the engine in the 2017-2018 Civic Si. You see how those bolts line right up to the head, no problem, again, because this is the upgraded OE turbo. You have the upgraded coolant lines and oil feed and return lines, and everything is just looking amazing in this picture. You can definitely see the amazing product that they are supplying. Only thing that isn't on this picture, of course, is the turbo inlet, or the plastic intake that goes right above it. The wastegate actuator and the downpipe isn't installed either. Now, from what I can see, at the very top of the turbo, you see that hole that goes into the turbo with the thread pitch on it. Looks like that is where the factory O2 sensor for bank 1, sensor 1 will go. But overall, this picture is definitely very satisfying, and can't wait to see this thing in person. Our next picture here is the inducer on the factory turbo, which is on the left side, and the inducer on the W1 turbo on the right side. So the inducer increases peak flow potential, and overall increased blade height. Also allows more energy extraction to be done by the turbine wheel on the exhaust gases. Now, the ratio of the inducer and exducer diameter defines the wheel trim. With these notes here and pictures, you can really appreciate the R&D that goes into every single one of these turbos, and actually making something for your car and telling you how it works, why it works, how they achieved this, why didn't they do it bigger, why didn't they do it smaller, why did they go this route. A lot of people may ask that. So this video can definitely answer all of your questions if you are too lazy to read their vlogs. Now on the other side, the exducer or the turbine wheel, you can see definitely in this picture the difference between the factory on the left and the upgraded 271 on the right. As you can see in this picture, the 271 W-1 turbine wheel is significantly larger than the base model turbine wheel. It's actually 61% larger based on the inducer. So of course we can see how much bigger it is now. But alongside with the big, you also get an increased, the shaft diameter is a lot bigger, and that's been increased for improved high RPM strength. Also, the webbing between the blades have been decreased to reduce the weight. Now in this picture you can see the OEM shaft on the exhaust turbine wheel on the left, and the 271 exhaust shaft, well, the turbo shaft with the exhaust turbine wheel on the right side, and you can definitely see the size difference, again, the 61% larger. Now if you do have any questions, here's 271's social media. You can message them personally. They always answer all of their DMs to all of their customers, and will be more than happy to get you going for the pre-order list on this turbocharger. We still do not know a figure and how much money it will be for the pre-order. I believe they're going to be releasing those details at the end of the month now, so everyone can get ready to pre-order theirs. Hope you guys had a great time. Thanks for watching Next Gen Alliance, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let's look forward to making some more power. Thank you guys. See you next time.